Yeah, there's a lot of cards with like super untapped potential just because there aren't decks for them yet. It's like Westwind Herald's a super strong card, just like hasn't seen a ton of play yet. But it's only like there's a lot of cards that are only going to get better, like way better, because they're so synergy dependent that like as the card pool increases, their power level, every card's power level goes up when the card pool expands because every card essentially has synergies with other cards. But there's certain cards that are way more reliant on synergy than other ones, right? A card like Tundra Explorer, right, is just going to get significantly better every time a new spell is released than, say, Sandstorm Titan. Sandstorm Titans can still get better because, like, oh, better flyers got released. I need a reason to keep them grounded. You know, yeah, it'll be exciting to see. Like this card is sweet. You don't have much hope for synergy-based cards. There's already plenty of synergy-based cards that see play, so I'm not really worried about it. There's plenty of synergy-based decks that see play. I mean, basically every deck is hinged on synergy other than, like, Combray. Like, Burn, at its abstract, is still a synergy deck. It's like, alright, we're trying to kill our opponent as fast as possible. They just have more synergistic tools available to them than certain other archetypes at the moment. And that's just a design decision to initially start that way, right? Chapin even mentioned in his AMA that they deliberately had more pushed 1-drops and 2-drops than you're typically going to see in an average set because aggro needs them to exist, right? For aggro to exist, you need a certain density of 1-drops and 2-drops that are aggressive to work. And people have attributed aggro success to 75-card decks, where really it's having success in spite of 75-card decks because it just had more support from the design, from the development get-go. Like, 75-card decks don't inherently hurt or help any archetype more than another, other than maybe combo. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that is the definition of synergy, though, right? Like, Flame Blast and Obliterate have synergy in that they're both burn spells that want to go to your opponent's face. And burn would undeniably be worth without one of those burn spells, right? Or, like, removing a valuable tool out of burn. Somebody could say I'm oversimplifying it, but I don't think I am. Yeah, Bandit Queen is a huge synergy card. Or, Assembly Line, that's a synergy-based card. Like, it's kind of good on its own, but it's only broken through synergy. It's just certain synergistic decks have more tools right now than others. It's not that one archetype is inherently, like, better in 75-card decks than another. Like I said, I think the only archetype that's inherently worse because of 75-card decks is combo, and that's fine. Don't care. Alright, so augmented mirrors. Yeah, Khalees. Khalees sees plenty of play. It's like a huge synergy deck. And it's not like combo decks can't exist. They're just... There's so many factors working against combo right now, it's kind of ridiculous, right? There's only one set. Alright. So that just inherently is bad for combo. Oh yeah. The game is going to get far more complex in the next set. We've been promised that. This is still the training wheel set. This is essentially... We've been playing block constructed core set for almost a year now. And we're still all playing it. And somehow still innovating it at a regular rate. This would be really good with Champion of the Order. That's true. 1 or 2 scouting parties for synergy with Westwind? Nah, I just want to augmented form to be the top. Reanimator's pretty good. Considering the tools it has available to it, it puts up pretty good win rates, all things considered. I don't think Reanimator's, like, relatively underpowered or anything like that, considering, there's one set out. Like, there's only one reanimation spell. Even if Grasping costs 3, it doesn't matter. There's only one reanimation spell. Reanimator's problem right now isn't that the reanimate spell isn't strong enough. It's that the reanimate targets aren't that good, and there's only one reanimate spell. It's not the issue that Grasp costs 5. Grasp costing 5 is, like, not a big deal. If Grasp costs 3, you wouldn't build Reanimator. You would just put it in as a value card. And also would be broken. Like, Reanimator would be better, but that's not the reason why Reanimator's not good right now. It has nothing to do with it costing 5. It's the fact that there's only one reanimation spell other than Vera. Right? Yeah, lack of redundant pieces or a reason to push the archetype. Yeah, Scourge of Frostholm turn 3. And then that's where silence comes in, right? But, yeah. I am not too worried about Reanimator's future. There's some plants here, right? They deliberately didn't want... I don't like when... Okay, let's restart this discussion here. Because one of my favorite decks in Magic is anything based on graveyard interactions. Probably the card I've cast the most in my lifetime is Life from the Loam. So for those that don't know what Life from the Loam is, from Magic, it costs 2. It's a spell. It's a slow spell. It's a sorcery. And it reads, get 3 lands from your graveyard and put them into your hand. That's all it does. Also, it has a keyword called Dredge, which is the most broken thing in the universe. And so anyways, not going to dive into that too much, but I just love, like, using the Void or the graveyard as an extension of your resources, and like flipping that whole thing on its whole like design principle on its head is I just love it. I just love turning things that have already been used into an extension of your hand. Yeah, Dredge is the most fun mechanic around. Dredge is incredibly repetitive, but it's great. Oh god, it's so fun. Anyways, I love Void strategies, but I think it's important that Void strategies get their own time to shine. That's an important concept. Like, it's not like every set that comes out in Magic is like, we're super pushing graveyard strategies, right? There's very deliberate blocks where it's like, all right, graveyard really matters here. And then there's other blocks where it doesn't really matter. And I think it's pretty clear in this first set that the Void isn't supposed to really matter. But there's enough cards around that are hinting at, we are not going to eliminate this design space. The Void can matter, right? We've got Entomb. We've got cards like Sporefolk that hint at it. There's things like Smuggler, Stash, and Dark Return. There's still cards that interact with the Void. And there's cards that care about the Void. But it's very clearly not like a deliberately pushed, reanimation's going to be the main theme of this first set kind of thing. So I think that's fine. Like, you don't want to do too much with your first set, especially like in an introductory set. There's only so much you can do with the first set. You need to save things for future sets, right? You don't print Steward if you don't expect a powerful Void strategy. They could have still expected it and just wanted to have a safety valve. And I think people severely overrate how much Steward hoses Void strategies. For one thing, it only silences units. It doesn't even interact with spells in the Void. So if spells in the Void become a thing that matters more, Steward still doesn't do anything. And plus you can remove Steward. Steward's extremely easy to remove compared to something like Rest in Peace, which is by far my least favorite card of all time. Although I could agree with you that Steward is maybe a little heavy-handed. I don't blame them for like having a safety valve there. Yeah, Snapcaster Mage, exactly. I mean, we've got Snapcaster Mage. It's just nowhere near as strong as Snapcaster Mage. But like, Steward doesn't do anything against Westwind Herald. Yeah, Grafdigger's Cage. Screw that card, right? Yeah, Aegis card survive. Like, there's tons of counterplay to Steward. Yeah. Like, Shadow also has access to a ton of... Like, Steward is hosing itself, right? Right now, really the only faction that cares about the Void is Shadow. And they deliberately put the Void Hate card also in Shadow. I don't think that's, a mistake or a oversight. If anything, Reality Warden is going to end up being a bigger problem for a lot of Void-based strategies than Steward of the past. People just like to bitch about Steward more. I think it might be a problem that Reality Warden's a legend at some point. Like, if people really need access to this card and it's at legend, that could end up being a problem. Because this card is a real hoser. I don't know if this stops Westwind Herald, but it might. Like, I think it's pretty interesting that people bitch and moan about a 3/5 for 4, and then there's this 7/7 for 5 that's hosing the Void even harder. And is way harder to remove. It's just hanging out here. Now, it's not monofaction. And I think the real problem is that Steward's seeing a lot of play because Shadow's other options at 5 are Impending Doom. And that's it. Or at 4, right? It's you. If you're playing Shadow and you need a 4-drop, your choices are Impending Doom or Steward. And you can't play them. So, I think this card will not... Like, it's already not seeing a ton of play right now. But, you know, I think the biggest thing propping up Steward is just the lack of other options. It's like if you're playing a defensive or controlling Shadow deck and you need a defensive play at 4, your option is Steward and that's it. I don't think Steward's seeing a ton of play because it's super pushed as a Void Hoser, right? It's just the most playable body to play at 4 in Shadow if you're playing defensively. So, you know, I wouldn't be shocked if going forward, Reality Warden actually ends up being the real Void Hoser that annoys a lot of people. Like, this card is far more difficult for Shadow to deal with. But the good news is, like, Shadow, like, at least Shadow-based decks can kill Steward. Like, it dies to Suffocate, Annihilate, Death Strike, dies to all that. Reality Warden only dies to one of those cards I just mentioned, and that's going to be a frustrating thing in the future, I think. Would not be surprised. Yeah. Yeah, no, Reality Warden should be a 7/7 if they're trying to push a unit in Cambrai. Cambrai is supposed to have the biggest units. Maybe they could just make it a 6/6 instead of a 7/7, but they really wanted to push the Void Hate cards to make sure that you could main deck them and have the safety valve. Okay, sure. Anyways, let's finish this deck. What does this look like?